to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome back. It's Wednesday, October 9th here on the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined by Mike Wright and the biggest loser, Matthew Betz.
You know, whoa. That tag is reserved.
That's a trademark name
for a very special person, Kyle. So that was rude. But yeah, man.
What's that all about?
Yeah, well, you know, if you look at the doc, Mike, I logged in today. I was having a pretty good day, actually. I log in and I see Kyle posts in our show doc.
Oh, yeah.
The results of our Dino Junior matchup, which I'll let Kyle I'll let him have his moment here. But going into the week, I was like, okay, Kyle's in kind of like a soft rebuild. This should be a somewhat easy win, I think. And, I knew it was over when Ray McLeod put up double-digit points on Thursday night. I was like, okay, Kyle might actually win this. But, Kyle, why don't you let the people know who your starting lineup was and who my starting lineup was and how things went?
Your team is very good. You got to inherit a very good team. Not saying you earned it, but I will say that you have a good team. I was starting such guys as Ray McLeod. Let's see. Jalen Tolbert's usually in the lineup. I didn't start him, but I had Rico Dowdle, your boy Mike.
Oh, yeah, y'all.
Trey Sermon, Kareem Hunt. It was Kareem Hunt versus Alvin Kamara on Monday night, and the better one really showed out.
Yep, sure did. So that was fun. So
Trey Sermon.
You had the W this week, but
Kareem.
What's funny, Kyle, is you should be losing.
I know. I feel bad about that.
You made your team worse by this victory yesterday. Your draft pick got worse. So terrible tanking by you, sir.
I really wanted to give the Kevin Garnett anything is possible. I just wanted to scream it because in Dynasty, you're picking up guys, and mostly I'm picking up players just so I can trade them away at this point. We understand where my team is at. It's in a rebuild, and I started that process in a couple different ways. But yeah, if you have a Dynasty team and you're like, I'm kind of just waiting for this next year draft picks, and then you kind of somehow stumble into wins, you're like, that's cool. Well, I didn't know if I wanted to do that, but man, this is a dirty roster. How did it feel to be beaten by Trey Sermon, Ray McLeod?
Terrible, actually. And just the nail in the coffin was Kareem Hunt. 27 carries in primetime was just pure pain, which, by the way, I saw on Tuesday, you put him on the trade block in this league. What are you looking to get there for Mr. Hunt?
Anything possible.
A fourth. I would take anything.
So he won't be on my roster this next year based on where I'm at, but it's those are the type of players that you kind of spend something to the league and to say, hey, if you need a running back, come get him. And, like Kareem Hunt, what are you going to get right now? Is anybody going to give me a second?
No, you might get a third though.
Even that doesn't feel like I want to give that up, but maybe that's where I'm at. But yeah, Dino Junior, Mike and Jason have a team that they're still trying to ride dirty, really old. Betz has a solid team, and my team was super fortunate for years, just hanging on by a thread. I think I made playoffs 5 out of 6 years, and now I'm just moving on. But it was nice. It was nice to be able to say that to your team, Betz, that my ragtag group of Borganoni's jabronis just took it to you, man.
They are some jabronis, but who's laughing now?
I'm not really sure. I just wanted to hold this over you for just a hot minute. But on this show, we're going to be talking all things trading. We're at the point of the season where you are assessing your roster, and we put out a question in our Discord and on X, and man, so many people are just asking the basic question of what is the value of this player? And the best way to assess that, because every single player you can kind of go through, you can look at trade charts. We don't do that. But really the best thing is you need to start making offers. Make offers even if they're just out there, nobody's going to do that. So for instance, I'm going to ask for a second for Kareem Hunt, and everyone's going to go, I don't really want to do that. Well, at least I know where he is, but just asking arbitrarily, you might not find out. So I would just say before we get into all the trades and all of our discussion, guys, part of it is just being active and having an active league where you are always in conversation. So with trades, do you feel like people just need to talk more rather than just talking online?
Yeah. Talk with your league. But also
make offers.
But also
I agree. And it's the snowball We people ask all the time, my league is not active. How do we get people trading? And it can be very difficult. Like if the car is at a dead stop, getting it going is tough. But once it has some momentum and other people see trades happening, that can get it going. But yeah, I mean, in general, if you are just checking in with the other people in the league from time to time, but you can even just be talking crap, like just trying to keep it's not weird that you're hearing from me. Basically, it's like you'll hear from me maybe once a week, once every week and a half or so, but try and keep those lines open.
Yeah, make sure you're making fun of your friends. I mean, that's what fantasy is all about. I will say too, this is like the natural time of year where like the contenders and people in a full rebuild, like it's starting to be pretty obvious of like who the top 5-6 teams are in your league. Naturally, it creates easy trading partners, I think, with, they're going to want some of the older veterans that might not have as much value next year. At the same time, if you're off to a rough start and your team has some younger pieces, you can continue to collect those younger pieces and draft picks and really start that rebuild. So it's kind of natural time of the year where things are starting to look more clear in terms of who's a contender and who's not, and then you can pair up your trading partners that way.
I want to make sure that you guys know about our ultimate dashboard, which we've spent tons of time building out, even some features right now on the fantasyfootballers.com that we're still working on, still getting to fine tune. But right now, the Stream Finder tool, the string of schedule tool, I mean, I've made some offers in leagues, and in Dynasty, we're often thinking so far in the future, but it's like I'm trying to trade for some of these teams for rest of season. Like Breece Hall is one of those players that we got asked a ton about. And according to our schedule, he has the easiest schedule moving forward. He just happened to play the Vikings last week, which didn't help out so much. But yeah, some of those tools I feel like are helping inform my decisions. And Mike, that's kind of been something that, I don't know, I feel like 5-6 years ago, you guys were like, let's create a tool that people can use that we would actually use. And I feel like you, Jason, and Andy like really knocked it out of the park here.
For which? The Stream Finder or the dashboard?
I use Stream Finder every single day, but I'm talking about the dashboard in general.
Oh, yeah. The dashboard, yes. It's customized to what your stuff is. You just sync your league. It's real easy, and I use it every Tuesday now. Like this is how I do my waivers now, and I mean it's how I catch things. It's like, here's the waivers, here's who available, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I actually, you know what? Now that I'm seeing everyone here, I would prefer this player, so then I go and I tweak the rankings. So everything is iron is sharpening iron with that tool. So I'm really, really proud of it.
Yep. Jointhefoot.com if you want to be a part of that. But let's jump into the rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
Every week on the Dynasty podcast, we rewind the film and we do a deep dive on a player. Betz, I will let you talk about the film because I was there and it was as good as you could imagine.
I was going to say, I don't even know if we need to do a film review. You could just give us the play-by-play in person because you were at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I mean, what a place to watch a game. Last Thursday night's game was unreal. Super fun to watch. But what I took away from it, obviously, is that Kirk Cousins, is the greatest quarterback ever. In all seriousness, it's like the Drake London usage. The numbers are inflated for everybody in this game because of how wild it got. And we can't expect that moving forward. But when you watch Drake London this year, especially over the last 2 weeks, compared to what he was doing in Arthur Smith's system, where it's like he is a perimeter wide receiver. And I think about a lot of the targets he had in that offense. A lot of it to me was like contested catches down the field, which it's very boom bust. And I think Drake London is a lot better than that in terms of an overall player and wide receiver. And you're seeing that this year in the new system with Zach Robinson, specifically looking at him as like this power slot wide receiver, where his slot usage every year has gone up from 15% to 19%. This year, 34%, obviously, is a career high. And when he's been in the slot, it's been awesome. And you saw that in that game Thursday night where he seemed to have a really good understanding of like sitting in the soft spot and zone. They put him in motion a lot, giving him a ton of looks in the middle of the field where it's like not just the deep stuff, but also some of these intermediate routes where he can win and go after the catch. Like he's really good with the ball in his hands after the catch. So I was super encouraged by that in terms of how he looked in that role. And I hope that continues moving forward because I think it'll give him an elevated floor, but then also we know the big plays can happen too with that ceiling. So just to put some numbers to it, this is per PFF. He's 2.17 yards per route run from the slot this year compared to 1.89 when he's on the perimeter.
Yeah, one of the things they did, like you mentioned, is they put him in motion and then they kind of like almost hid him in the slot. Like where like Pitts was like overshadowing him. And I felt like the play was just bully ball. Like he's big, kind of like Mike Evans. Get him in space, and he would just pick up yards after the catch, and just a lot of first downs were just converted where it's like, man, Drake London, he's just big. Like, and that's the part that's really hard to see translate from college. It's like, this is a contested catch guy. Are we really going to see that? And it's like, we've seen some of those big plays, but I feel like the way they're using him is like great for fantasy. We're getting volume. We're getting him in space, getting him in the middle of the field. So yeah, it was really, really great to see. And I feel like the conversation we've had of those three wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Chris Olave, like there's been ups and downs, but right now London is trending in the right direction. Garrett Wilson saw a stupid amount of targets to get to over 100 yards. And then Chris Olave had a stinker of a game.
He got Kansas City'd.
I will say, though, I needed 2 points from him in a league to win my Dynasty matchup. He got me 2 points.
Oh, okay, so you got it.
Oh, I won by the narrowest margin possible.
Oh, man.
Didn't he have a catch in the fourth quarter? And like that was like the one that put it over the edge.
That's put me over the top. So it was super close. So yeah, Drake London, I felt like everything you saw for fantasy and then you saw in film, it's like this is lining up. But Mike, you have another player who showed out on Sunday night.
It was a nasty boy. Fellas, running hot on nasty boys these days. It is Rico Suave Dowdle, starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys. Never a doubt in my mind that it may not work out after the first few weeks where Zeke was the starter. But he was the RB3 on the weekend. Huge week for him. 20 for 87, 2 targets, 2 for 27, and his score had that nice receiving touchdown where he kind of the play like it was essentially a broken play, but Dowdle found himself wide open in the corner, made the catch. Like he made it, right? I mean that could be a nerve-wracking catch where it hits you in the belly and you're wide open, whatever, but he got it. He was almost 20 for 88 and a score on the ground had it not been for the Steelers. I can't remember the feller's name, the linebacker who just had a free I mean, this was full Palomalu style, like timed perfectly, jumps over the trenches and just crushes Rico Dowdle and the fumble. So, I mean, we were that close to having not just a big game, but an absolute monster game. So I went back and watched, and my overall takeaway was I thought the film was good. I'm not going to say it was fantastic, but he looks like a player who hasn't got a ton of carries in the NFL, which he has not, despite how long he's been in the NFL. You know, he's never been the go-to guy. So there is some hesitancy, but I think he's making pretty good reads. Had more than a handful of carries where you're like, oh, that's a good strong run where you bounced off 2 defenders. A couple too many times where I see a defender grab his leg and he goes down. It's like, come on, man, you gotta have the tree trunk stronger than that. But soft hands, keeps moving up in opportunities, he is the guy. You know, there was a bizarre report last week of, Dallas is looking to shake things up or change things in the running back room. And it was not clear at all. It was like, is this a point for Rico Dowdle that they're going to go with him? But if you dove into it and looked at the actual quote, it talked about Dalvin Cook might get elevated off of the practice squad because he was kind of, if you remember, it's a while ago, but people got scared off of Rico Dowdle because Dalvin Cook came to town and joined the practice squad. Well, that didn't happen. I mean, like it went to Rico. So it was really exciting. Next week's matchup is absolutely brutal, but if he gets this volume on a high-powered offense, Dallas is 3rd in total red zone plays per game right now. Like he's going to fall into the end zone more often than not. So and the fact that he's involved in the receiving game. 2 catches, that sucks, but I think he's showing that this is a part of his skill set that the Cowboys need to use.
And I feel like all along, like one, it's been fun to be on Rico's team, Mike, as somebody you're like, hey, I think that he's going to
win. All are welcome.
Yes. Now, I also hear what you're saying is like, he's not elite. Mike's not saying like, go trade for him or anything, I'm assuming right now. But
no, I mean, I think that he'll be a good player for this year. Like, this is not this isn't a holy crap, we did it. We found the next starting running back for the Cowboys for the next few years. We're a long ways away from that being the case, but every week has gotten better, and he is by far the best runner on this team. There again, just out there. I don't think there's anyone who could scare me off of Rico Dowdle being added to this team, and Rico Dowdle wouldn't hold him off, aside from a weird trade. But I'm just saying, guys on the street, Rico's job looks pretty safe.
I watched the film, and I would say his contact balance is pretty good. He always ends up falling forward, and I think it's just because he's big. And so at the end of the day, like with Dallas, like you want scoring opportunities. He's just kind of big enough. But I did write this down. I don't know if this is mean. I found what he's elite at, and I don't think he hits the hole very hard. Like I think he's elite at kind of trying to dance, but have this hesitation kind of move. You said it was like Lev Bell stuff, but it's not.
Yeah, it could be. I think I want to see another game of him getting a huge amount of carries, because maybe that's just his running style. Maybe it's like that's how the plays are worked for him. But there were definitely a few times where I thought, oh, come on, Rico, just turbo jets that right there. But then I saw there's a few other plays where he does be hesitant, and then he hits. He is an explosive player. Like his actual metrics are quite good for his size and his weight.
He's 26, I believe.
Yes, he is.
Only 26.
He's 26, and let me hold on. I got to check something here. So, okay, so he had 89 carries in 2023. He's already up to 54. So,
way to go, Rico. Maybe played himself into another contract.
Maybe it's the starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys. Who's to say?
So to put a bow on this with Dowdle, would you, if you're not a contender, this is like an obvious trade away after last night's game, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
But
like my team,
right?
Yeah, you should be. Yes, you should be trading Rico, and you should get more for Rico than Kareem Hunt.
Cool. Well, Mike, you're in that league, and I guess I could trade him to you.
You can. Well, Jason is also my co-manager.
Okay, so Jason,
and we know how Jason feels about Rico Dowdle, despite 2 really strong games now.
He's more of a loop geek guy.
Yeah. You may have an offer in your inbox though, Kyle. If you want to check that.
I'll check that out. I wanted to throw out Brock Bowers, and at this point, 12 targets, he was 8 for 97 and 1. Went back, watched the whole game. The thing that we loved in college is that they manufactured touches for him. Like tight end, that's not normal for tight ends, right? Where it's like you get screens, and at Georgia, right, they gave him end arounds, lots of stuff. It's awesome when you see that in the NFL. His touchdown was basically, I'm better than you, and I'm going to jump over you, and then I'm just going to keep going. So that was awesome stuff. And even when you looked at Surtain's pick 6, Bowers was wide open on that play, and Gardner just overthrows him. It's interesting because when I watched this game, I didn't even care who the quarterback was. It just didn't matter. We joke all the time that Minshew and AOC are the same person. But compared to other tight ends, I was kind of looking at how much did they put him in motion. He's tied with Kelsey for the most tight end receptions in motion. And that's essentially what you're getting right now, right? Is a young Kelsey who's the focal point of an offense. He's the highest graded rookie for any position for PFF, the highest graded tight end, period. So everything that you see in the stat line is he really is that good. He is the focal point of the offense. I don't care who the quarterback is. And, before the season, was it Laporta? Was it McBride? It's unquestioned. Brock Bowers is the tight end 1 Dynasty, and in redraft.
Think probably right.
I mean, it's who else would you rather have right now?
Yeah, no, in Dynasty, I remember having this conversation last year. Who could you possibly want over Slam Laporta right now? That's my only hesitancy, people. Is Brock Bowers is probably the number 1 Dynasty tight end. Where is he right now? Just in this year's redraft.
In redraft, he's 1 right ahead of Kittle.
He is. Okay, so he is the tight end 1. Good grief. Wow. Built different.
And
how would you say, Betz? There's no argument?
No, not at all.
You can make an argument, obviously.
For me, not at all. Just with, I feel like in the prospect season, I was a little bit higher on just I would take him at the 4th pick or 5th pick over, some of the other wide receivers like Worthy or Brian Thomas Jr., which, that looks like an awesome pick if you took Brian Thomas. But Brock Bowers, I was just higher on just like this guy, what he did in college is just not normal. So let's just bet on him and hope good things happen. And then the landing spot was, again, this is another reminder for Dynasty. Like people always overvalue landing spot, I think, a little bit, especially in the short term. But now Devontae is gone, right? Or will be gone. I don't know what's going on with Michael Mayer. Not that it really matters, but he's been out the last couple of weeks with a personal issue. There's no long-term quarterback, but I just think he's so good that it doesn't really matter. And I think there's a pretty good chance we see AOC if it's not this week, but very soon. Like Gardner's already been benched twice this year in game. So the change, in my opinion, is coming sooner than later. And there were times last year where, Aiden O'Connell definitely has his flaws, but like he was peppering Devontae over and over again. Like he can deliver the ball to his first read.
He was throwing the ball, and the stat nerds would say, "Oh yeah, that was probably for Devontae Adams." That's I look, Brock Bowers is. I'm not taking away from that, but I do care if it's Gardner or Aiden O'Connell.
Okay.
I think Gardner is a much better player for our needs,
right?
NFL wise, I mean that fine. The Raiders, you guys can have a weird quarterback competition in week 6. That sounds like a really healthy thing to do for your franchise. But I don't think O'Connell is a solution. I mean, yes, targets. And should Devontae Adams leave, which it sounds like it, Bowers with Aiden O'Connell. As long as Bowers is willing to get in that huddle and be like Adams and look Aiden, like grab his face mask and be like, Aiden, throw the ball to me. On the next play, Aiden, throw me the ball. Like we need Bowers to. I don't know if he has that or not.
He's not that. He doesn't
like
have
a nice
that personality.
Does he have that dog in him, Kyle?
He's going to need that.
As a former Georgia Bulldog, he has the dog.
Okay, good.
But Adams has come out multiple times. He's like, I can't get anything out of this guy. Like he's pretty mild mannered.
Well, he's an Iceman, but I need him to get in the quarterback's face and say, "You throw me the ball."
They will have a different quarterback next year. I mean, they're probably picking top 6. And so there's lots of different options. We'll see how that changes. But yeah, Bowers you knocked it out of the park. And next week we will be doing our rookie draft redo and going through that first round and second round. And that's kind of the point right now is like, where do you take Bowers right now?
Oh, man, where do you take Jaden Daniels? Like, I mean, seriously, where do you take him?
We'll find out next week.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Ooh, what a pro tease there. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. I did receive an offer from Mike for Kareem Hunt. It's sitting in my inbox. It's what we talked about, but I'm going to counter. Stir things up.
That's not how it works, Kyle.
Hey, we're starting the conversation though on a podcast.
That offer.
Do you want to share what it was?
It was tempting.
Was it a third?
It's just Kareem for a third,
Okay.
and I was like, I can get a little bit more.
We'll see. Would you take
we'll
that?
See.
I mean, obviously the dynamics
It's like,
on
do
this
you
show.
want a job?
You accept that trade right now. Would you take that, or if you're a contender? Like, I mean, I was just looking at our Stream Finder tool. Chiefs with the 5th easiest strength of schedule remaining.
Hoo, price went up.
I mean, would you trade a third for him if you're a contender? Asking for myself.
Oh yeah, no, Mike's making the right move.
Okay.
I think he's worth a little bit more than a third, but it's starting a conversation.
Don't overplay your hand, dude. You just got him for fab.
Yes, but they're going on bye, and so nothing can hurt this man.
Except
for CH.
Except Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All of a sudden, reports come out. Clyde's looking fantastic, and he might take the job.
Don't
Don't overplay your hand.
We'll counter in a second.
Let's talk trades.
We are at the point of the season where you are probably figuring out, okay, what do I do with these players? I'm a contender. I'm in rebuild. Like, there's so many different variations when we talk about certain players and what to do. So if you're out there, I would point you to our Discord channel, our Dynasty channels, our Dynasty Superflex channels, our trade advice channels in our Discord, ballersdiscord.com. I mean, you're going to get so much more feedback than you could imagine. But we're going to give a couple of quick trade away and trade for candidates in Dynasty, and then hit some questions, because there's a lot of people out there that are basically asking, what do I do with Bijan? What do I do with Brees? I saw someone that said, like, hey, I got Bijan in a rookie draft, and like, do I just kind of like move on now and just like trade it for a second? I was like, no, No, not at all. You have a very valuable asset that people want. Don't panic, trade this guy. So I will let you go first, Betz, a trade away candidate in Dynasty right now.
Yeah, we've talked about this player a lot over the last, I would say, like year and a half with Stephon Diggs, who I think is a good trade away candidate specifically right now. And we've talked about this in the past with trading where you want to be mindful of the news cycle, whether it's in the offseason with like draft rumors or free agency or whatever, suspension, stuff like that. But also like in season, there's perceived value increases and decreases in a player. Nico Collins just picked up a hamstring injury. So presumably most people will think, okay, Steph Diggs gets a boost for the next couple of weeks. Tank Dell gets a boost for the next couple of weeks. If I'm not a contender and I'm not relying on Steph Diggs this year, I think this is the perfect time to get out. We've already seen the warning signs over the last, 2 years or so where late in the year he seems to decline. And right now his average up to target 6.6 yards is by far the lowest of his career. He's not really making big plays. He's kind of gotten there in fantasy a couple of times on touchdowns, but he's only averaging 1.68 yards per route run. Again, that's a career low for a player turning 31 in November. So I just think this is a perfect time with the Nico injury, already seeing some efficiency warning signs, that it's a good time to get out. I feel like you can probably get a first for Diggs from a contender, a late first, something like that for Diggs. And if I'm not relying on him for a playoff push, I would certainly do that in my league.
Would you take 2 seconds?
I think that's fair. I would probably take that too.
Okay.
What about if I were to offer you my Diggs for your 2026 first?
I would not do that.
Okay, because I have Diggs and just seeing what see what's working out there.
This whole
I
episode
don't
is
need
just
him.
Kyle trying to trade his players to us.
Kyle literally just planned the show for himself.
Hey, there's somebody out there that says no, but I think with Diggs, we talked about it last year. We talked about it last offseason, and right now I would say his value is the highest it's going to be for a while with this little short. Like, what do we do with Nico? So it's more of just playing the game of like, okay, 6 weeks from now, is he more valuable? Or a year from now? I think we'd all say a year from now, he's not going to be as valuable, correct?
Correct.
So what is he? He's a wide receiver 2 in full PPR that kind of doesn't have any explosiveness anymore. And that has a place for some rosters if they need it. But at the end of the day, it's like, I just feel like his upside's capped. Now, the Tank Dell fears are real. So I think that's kind of where a lot of people are. It's like, maybe he's just replaced Tank, and I'm terrified because I have Tank in a lot of redrafts. So how do you guys feel about the pecking order? Because Diggs is still seeing a huge target share.
I mean, look, it's hard to see exactly what's going on when you've been on Team Nico the whole time and you're just soaring through the clouds,
Feeling great about life.
of all these Tank Dell people saying that he's coming to be the number one on the team. It's Diggs is so strange to me because we were pretty heavy on our stance of we didn't like his ADP, and I feel like we're simultaneously wrong and still right at the exact same time. Like you're like, oh, he's the wide receiver 13, but he's been good-ish, but it's like a 6-yard rushing touchdown. Like what is that nonsense? Like that's not supposed to be happening in the variance. So I think there is, I will say, like there is a path where Diggs is still as valuable next year as he is right now. If he keeps having a good, strong season for the Texans, he is a free agent. The Texans, if you remember, they moved money around so that Diggs is a free agent next year. So what did they trade for him? I mean, it wasn't like a 2?
That sounds right off the top of my head.
Look it up.
Kyle, you
look it
pull
up.
that up. But they traded real assets for him. It was it felt like a smart move for the team as they're making a push to go to the Super Bowl. And that's what I mean. Like, if they make a good playoff run, and Diggs is a part of that, and Tank Dell is doing what he's done through these first few weeks, I can see them, really bringing Diggs back and just saying, hey, we're going to run it again. Yeah, let's see. So the trade was trading Diggs to the Texans with a 6th rounder and a 5th rounder in exchange for a 2nd. Okay, so that's what it is. The player plus a 6 and a 5 for a 2 in 2025. mean, they're going to want their value. Right. The Houston Texans are going to want their value. So there is a world where that happens, but I'm more on the side of if I'm a contender, this is not a building block. This is someone who, or I'm sorry, if you're a rebuilder, you should be trying to maximize the value of Stephon Diggs, and Betz is correct. The dynasty market is so tied to the news, and it's so tied to emotion and tiny little shifts in value here and there. So if it comes out, hey, Nico's going to miss a couple weeks, then Stephon Diggs' value, I don't think will be higher this season than it would be if something like that came out.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not like he looks like dust. Like, I don't think you're saying Betz like he's done or anything. It's just you're getting peak value now, and if you need to move on, you can move on.
Yeah.
Mike, you have another wide receiver that's kind of in that same, spot of like guys we talked about this offseason as older. If you needed to trade them away, do it. Like I believe he was on our trade away targets in the Dynasty Pass.
Yep, in the Dynasty Pass, he was of guys who I'd be willing to move. Is Deebo Samuel Sr. of the San Francisco 49ers, who is rapidly approaching his 29th birthday. And I will tell you that that was a wild ride this offseason, thinking about trading Deebo, because a lot of that was I went full ostrich in the sand of Brandon Ayuk's going to be on the 49ers. He's going to get the check from them. And once they do that, the following year, they're going to have to make some money decisions here because they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy, or seemingly they should have to pay Brock Purdy. And then they have all this cash locked up into just a couple players. Can Deebo hold on, or is he going to have to be a cap casualty and they move him away? And just on everything, like the age, the fact that Deebo has actually only been season long, he's only been great for fantasy 2 times, and his career is so wild of the way that we think about Deebo, because he's such a good player, but it hasn't been multiple years of just consistent, oh man, he's so great for my fantasy team. It's been hot and cold. And so he's a player that I'm willing to move away from, to kind of do I'm going to get out before it's too late to get out, that's kind of what the Stephon Diggs argument is. It might be a year or two early on Deebo where he's still going to have value, but I think that the end is probably coming for his career. He doesn't strike me as a Mike Evans type where it's like the longevity in the career. It's hard to identify people. Like, imagine like if we had this podcast 3 years ago, we probably would have been like, hey, you know what? You might want to trade Mike Evans because the dude's getting old. There's no way that he can keep doing this. Yeah, well, some players can. I don't think Deebo is that type of a player, though.
I will say, too, on Deebo, just from this year standpoint as well as beyond, we're still waiting on when Christian McCaffrey comes back, but some of his production this year has come from that, air quotes, like pseudo RB2 role behind Jordan Mason, where, they'll give him 3-4 carries in a game. And with CMC there, historically his splits have been less rushing when that's been the case. The other thing with Deebo is, let's say the team does move on, whether it's next year or the year beyond, it's like, I'm not saying he wouldn't produce somewhere else, but Kyle Shanahan just knows how to use Deebo Samuel. And it's been a match made in heaven over the years with Deebo that I do have some fears about just another offensive coordinator maximizing his skill set, especially if he is approaching, 30, 31 years old. So I do think right now, again, if you're not a contender, it's a good time to get out when you can still get peak value.
This question's from Carb Monster. He brought this up about Deebo. I thought it was just real simple of just what is good value for him? And Betz, you're a Deebo manager. Do you feel like you can get a first plus something else?
I think you probably could. A first and a second, a first and a young player, something like that. I think that's a very fair deal.
The first and a young wide receiver who hasn't done anything yet, like that's my preferred way to go, because it gives me like 2 good shots. A first and a second was kind of where my brain went immediately. But it's like if you can go get if you've missed the Jalen Polk news, things are trending good for him. Production
That's a
has
good
not
name.
been there. The production hasn't been there, and that's why what is so appealing about this, funny enough, is like I love that he hasn't done anything yet, but he's worked his way up to being he's the wide receiver 1 now for the Patriots. It didn't start that way, but the snaps, the route participation, everything has been trending up to this past week where he is the wide receiver 1. Drake May, if you didn't hear this as well, will be starting for the New England Patriots. Is Drake May going to be good for the NFL? I don't know, but these are the shots that you're going to take. Like, what if May is very good? If May is very good, then Jalen Polk is going to be a good fantasy asset. Maybe not a top 12 wide receiver, but a guy who you're going to want to put into your flex. Like Drake May's, like his natural gifts and talents are fantastic and matching up with fantasy football production. So a 1 in Jalen Polk, something like that. Just finding a young wide receiver who hasn't broken out yet, but you like what's going on around them.
Would you do it for a 1 in Adonai Mitchell, who's done also nothing?
Adonai, I mean, that whole scenario and situation is like Richardson has played so poorly and already hurt again. I think it's terrifying to buy into the Colts ecosystem as a whole, and seen quite a few people. I need to go watch this, so I'm only being a parrot here for what people are talking about on Twitter. Colts reporters and things talking about Adonai's. It seems like he does not want to get hit, and he's making it's affecting the way that he plays,
Like
so
business
again,
decisions?
not necessarily business decisions, but like just the way that he is playing right now, like playing a little bit scared and leaving some production on the field that he could get more. So that's something I need to dive into. But overall, the Colts though it's Pittman, Josh Downs is a real player, Adonai Mitchell if Richardson, if they keep going with Richardson and you have 150 something passing yards to go around.
Pierce.
Yeah, I don't think I would. Not for Adonai.
I think it depends on your evaluation of AD Mitchell. If you were in pre-draft and like you were super excited about him, then I guess it's fine. I was a little bit lower. The peripherals weren't great. And when you're sharing a field with Pittman and Josh Downs, those guys are very good target earners. It leaves
and Gigantor.
Yeah, exactly. It leaves very little for Mitchell. Now, of course, he could grow in his role and that sort of thing over the course of the year in his career. So we need to leave our minds open to that. But it's just weird. Like 64% of the snaps in week 1, 59% in week 2, and then Josh Downs is back. Hit the bench, buddy. So you aren't encouraged by that, but at the same time, it's early in his career. So if you were in on him, I think it's okay. But go back to your evaluation in the pre-draft process, and if you were lower, I definitely wouldn't do that.
All right, I'm going to throw out one more trade away candidate, and this one I feel like is spicy in the sense of like if you're a contender, just stay. Like just hold. You don't need to like trade him right now. But Brian Robinson Jr. is the RB6 on the season. This is the exact same thing we were doing last year, where he got off to the hot start. He was like a top 5 running back for the first 10 weeks of the season. And right now, I'm looking at a couple different sites. People are viewing him in Dynasty as a near top 15 back, which feels very, very spicy based on what he's done, which has been awesome. He's basically been a top 10 back 3 times. He's been double digits every single week. He's running hot on touchdowns. And you saw that this past week. It was 2 touchdowns. They were so far ahead, they kind of saved him. He was banged up. But 3 of his games, he's also 3.3 a carry, 2.1, 2.6. He's not really an explosive guy. 65% of his carries this year have been for 4 or fewer yards. And he's exceeding in expected fantasy points or actual fantasy points as opposed to expected. So with Eckler there and the overall rushing opportunities also being skewed because Daniels takes them away, I feel like right now you've been really fortunate with touchdowns and how good this team has been, where I don't love the matchup this week against Baltimore, but in general, I feel like he's a player that you can sell high right now.
I am so happy you brought this up because like I have a weird not relationship's the wrong word, but whatever, line of thinking, because Brian Robinson Jr., my introduction to him was he was brought in to steal the job from my sweet Antonio Gibson. So I just already didn't like him. I didn't like what he represented. It had literally nothing to do with him. It's just I wanted Gibson to be the starter forever for Washington. And then it just, obviously the Gibson has his stuff and Robinson does take over. But there was something about it to me. Again, I don't want it to be my priors of just being upset about the situation, but it felt so fraudulent last year. Like a lot of that, when you do from week 1 to week 10,
right?
So much of that was what the Denver game, I believe it was. He had one game where he went nuclear and juiced up his average for weeks, and it seems like it's almost happening again where we're 5 games in. The dude has 5 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that is running really, really hot. Meanwhile, Austin Eckler, who is much older than Brian Robinson Jr., looking really good. And that I bring that up as terms of Brian Robinson should look awesome. If Eckler is looking this good on this team, Robinson should look awesome. And he doesn't look awesome to me. He looks like he is the leader in timeshare for a team that is scoring a lot of touchdowns, which is very valuable. But we're just talking long term. When the variance bounces back, it seems like there could be a 5 or 6 game stretch where you're going, what the heck is wrong with Brian Robinson?
Yeah, you're
benefited. Kind of describing.
Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah, keep going back.
I was going to say he's just benefited so much from Washington well outperforming expectations, right? This team had a 6.5 win total. They weren't really projected to be favored in a lot of games. They're the number 1 scoring offense, which no one saw coming. And there were some offensive line concerns at the start of the year as well. And I think, I'm not saying that stuff can't, change course over the year or whatever, but just I think the Washington offense right now is set to come back down to earth at some point. Doesn't mean they're not going to be good. It's just, will they be the top scoring offense in the league the entire year? I would say probably not. And so if you have some regression there, then the touchdown opportunities are going to come down, which is kind of what you're saying. I will say, if you are going to trade him away, don't do it this week after the Baltimore game. I think the box score is going to be kind of tough against that defense. They get Carolina in week 7. So after Carolina, when presumably he will get there, as everyone does, that's a good time to maximize the value.
Mike, you were kind of describing what it's like in middle school, where, you like somebody, and then all of a sudden, you got a good thing, and then this new person comes in, and they're ruining it, and you're just like,
I don't like that guy.
Yeah, I don't even know him yet. I don't even know that dude. Get out of my class. This was my zone. And then she's hanging out with him now. And you're just kind of sitting there going, oh. So
and then my guy's the backup running back on the Patriots.
Mike, how did you feel when we got that news blurb, though? Yeah, on the Ramondre fumbling situation. It was
I would have felt.
Are we back?
We would have been back, except Ramondre's the one who had the good game. If I was, just sitting in a dark corner in my, yes, good, take the job, and it was nothing. It was just a theatrical disciplinary move that, for if you have Ramondre in your squad, hopefully that he took that to heart.
Yeah, Andy kind of saw right through that. He's like, I think Ramondre's still going to see the majority of the touches. They split the snaps, but in terms of who got used when they were on the field, it was still Ramondre. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We are going to hit a couple more trade for targets, and then we'll hop into the mailbag in just a second. So, Betz, you go first.
Yes, I'm going to give us a trade target who I don't think is going to do a ton for you right now. I mean, maybe, but really this is the play for next year and beyond. Eric All Jr., the tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm so in.
Mike's in, so we should be in. This is a 4th-round rookie this past year who went to Iowa, and obviously if you go to Iowa, you're guaranteed to hit in the NFL.
Log out.
That's just how it works. But he went to Michigan, transferred for his final year to go to Iowa. He missed a lot of the NFL draft cycle, so we didn't cover him a ton in the offseason just because he was recovering from a torn ACL. But he's already getting on the field as a rookie, played 42% of snaps so far this year, and it's a very small sample size, but he is earning targets at a very healthy clip on his routes. 26% targets route run for any player is very, very good. For a tight end is elite. Now, will that continue? I would be shocked, sharing the field with, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins this year, obviously. But that to me is where like the intrigue is for next year. Because when you look at this opportunity, I mean, I don't think T's coming back. Crazy things happen, so maybe. But if T moves on, Mike Gesicki's a free agent. Tanner Hudson, their other tight end, is a free agent. I think the runway is going to be cleared for Eric All in 2025. So I'm trying to get ahead of that right now. Trade a third, for this guy, a third and a fourth or whatever. Go get Eric All, sit him on your bench, and wait for next year. I think he's a really good trade target right now.
And it's like we're all in Dynasty, we're all kind of locked in of like, hey, they took Jermaine Burton to almost redshirt him, cultivate him for next year, which I still think that's the higher probability of things. But it's like, what if it's Eric All? Low probability, of course, but these are some chances that we need to take that are really, they're penny stocks. It's like a low investment, massive potential reward. Probably won't happen, but these are the types of moves that you need to make. And before long, then you look at your roster and you're like, oh man, I hit on 3 of those, and that changes everything for a dynasty roster when you can hit on just 2 or 3 of these options that people didn't see coming. It like opens things up so much. So just want to imagine that path exists, because it does.
They've changed this year where they throw to the tight end. They never did that in the past.
Yeah,
in
it's
the
been
Burrow
weird.
years. So, I mean, they had that weird Gesicki game. I think it was against the Chiefs where they had like 16 targets.
Chiefs are the tight end funnel.
So, yeah, I think it's a great pick there, Betz. And he's, like you said, cheap. Maybe someone in your league doesn't even know he exists. Or like, oh, yeah, I have this guy on my roster. Might as well go for it. Mike, you got a name here at running back.
Yeah, so if you need help, which almost every dynasty team does for the running back, I think Tony Pollard is kind of in a sweet spot of still good, giving you pretty strong production, and it's not the break the bank. Tony Pollard will not be cheap at all to acquire for a dynasty team, but like he will be. We're heading into week 6. Gets to take on the Colts and then Buffalo. That's great. Okay, I'm cool with both of those matchups. He's past his bye week, which is, you have to look at that almost like that's a bonus game, because if you didn't have to hold him through the bye week, now you just have this player until the end. Running back 11, 23 has the down week, then right back up to 15. So I think that I don't frequently like trading for running backs. When I do, I like the approach of a lower tiered running back who is not necessarily a lock for a starting job, plus a pick if I can bring the price down. But if I had to trade like a late first for Tony Pollard, that's a move I would do. And I think in the right economy of a dynasty league, I think that's something that could get done.
I think most people look at the Titans as a giant poop stain. It's just like, I don't want to be a part of this. But he is 7th among all running backs in yards after contact per attempt, because a lot of this stuff has just been him creating. So he's been really, really good. That's right there with Kenneth Walker, right there with Saquon. I mean, he's been good. And in terms of expected fantasy points, he's top 12 in the league. So I think the opportunity is great. And could you get him for a second and a young wide receiver?
I think so.
I think that's the ballpark.
I think in the right scenario, and he's at the age of he's 27, so like we're approaching rapidly where it's like, this isn't a player I would normally want on my team. However, he just got that, the smaller contract extension, so he should be good to go for at least next year. So this isn't just you're not burning a pick to rent a running back, which a lot of times you do when you're making a push for dynasty. You're like, I know that I'm not even going to have this guy, but I need a running back. So Pollard is someone I think that is not top of the price and should give you value for at least 2 years.
Trying to come up with names of wide receivers. Could you do a second and somebody like is Polk too much? A second and Polk?
I think that's probably too rich.
Depends
Okay,
on the
a
league.
second in Jalen McMillan.
I don't know if that's enough.
I don't know. I think
what else you got?
Keep going, bro. Keep
A
going.
second and Ricky Pearsall.
I mean, it depends
You
how
probably
much
want.
people are
I would never have Ricky Pearsall.
excited
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the potential for next year. But
Yeah,
then they
that's
signed
the
Ayuk,
issue.
right?
Is,
So
but we're saying, or I'm saying, they're probably going to get rid of Debo. So if I have Pearsall, everything, all my eyes are on next year.
Yeah.
His value is just inflated to me based off of hope and speculation.
Right.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think Pollard's a perfect player to say, like, I don't have to give up a first. I'm not going to pay a first, but I think I can get him a little cheaper than some of these other running backs.
Might
and
be
he can
able to.
kind of fill that RB2 flex spot for your team. I wanted to throw out Rome Odunze because I feel like right now you're not going to have to pay top price. And I feel like a year from now, not only is he going to be way more expensive, but the vibes are kind of with him like, let's just wait till next year. Then Keenan will be out of there. But I think a lot of people are just kind of saying like, if I did the rookie redraft again, it's like, I'd rather have Neighbors, Marv, Thomas. I'd rather have Bowers. And then you kind of just keep sliding him down and you're like, is he the 106, 107? Like that's kind of where the vibes are with him. And I just want to say like, he had the big blow up game in week 3, which was awesome. But he's been getting targeted and targeted in the end zone. He's tied with DJ Moore for 4th in the NFL in end zone targets. Those are the most valuable targets we can have.
How many were catchable?
A lot of them not catchable, including this past week where like the first read was Odunze and Caleb just sailed it way out. But they are getting him in on screens. And I just think at the end of the day, it's like, I don't really care that Keenan's, on this team, sadly. Like it's just, this is a different version. So I think that you can trade for Odunze now cheaper than what it will cost in the offseason, because I think a lot of people are thinking like, he's not that helpful. If you are in, 6th, 7th place right now, you're like, am I going to ever start Odunze right now? And I feel like you could trade and get him for a first and maybe a little bit more, another piece.
I
think it's going to
be
take more
first
than
plus
that.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay, a first and a second.
People used, I don't even think that'll get it done.
No.
I mean, he was a top 4 pick.
He was the 9th overall pick in the draft.
Kyle, you bailing on a top 4 pick 5 games into his career?
No, I'm trading for him.
I know, but you're saying that other people then would be willing to bail on a top 4 pick.
I think people would want to get value because they think that a first and a second and something else might be more enticing to them.
I feel like you're starting. If someone doesn't come to me where the opening offer is 2 firsts, the conversation's probably. That's what I'm saying. But I'm like, if I had Odunze, I wouldn't even talk to you unless you started with 2 ones.
Yeah, if you drafted Odunze this year, you spent.
I have him, and people have offered me way less.
If you drafted him this year, you presumably
and
took
are you
him.
talking to them?
I am talking to them, but he's somebody that I think you should trade for right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get him, like, do it, but don't expect to get him for the cheap, because if you drafted him 3rd overall in rookie drafts in single quarterback leagues, everyone knew the roster was, okay, DJ Moore is here, might take some time for Caleb, Keenan's here, like, this is more a play for late 2024, but really in 2025. So everyone already knows that. So, like, I don't think you're getting a discount, but if you can get him, I mean, yeah, do it.
I think people I wrote down wide receiver FOMO because I think some people feel like I didn't get the right wide receiver. They'd rather have Brian Thomas.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Would you?
Yes, I'd rather have Brian Thomas.
So if you had
It's a coin flip to
I
me.
don't- Ooh, all right. Well, the draft is going to be spicy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes next week. We do have a lot of trade questions, so I want to get in a couple of those.
Mailbag.
First question is from Ketchup Doug on X. What a name. Has
Where
there
does
ever
that drop from?
the drop I just used?
Yeah.
Oh, Mike.
Did I do that on the live stream?
That is exactly what it is.
Oh my goodness, Kyle! What is that?
Betz and I use that all the time on DFS because we're just we don't want to do a mailbag drop again.
No, I get that, but I was like, I don't remember doing this, and then, oh yeah, no, when I did a live stream showing people kind of how I made during COVID, I should show people how I do my drops, and all right,
I
There it
just
is.
searched mailbag drop, and that's where I found
Hey,
it.
it's being used. That's great news.
Ketchup Doug said, has there ever been an episode about general trade strategy in Dynasty? I'm a first timer this year, and I have no idea how to value draft picks. And then Chris also followed up asking about future draft picks and how do you value those? So I know this is more of a strategy question first, but how do you guys approach just valuing draft pick trading?
I think the most important thing to understand about draft picks is there's a cycle in their value, right? So once we get to December, January, February, the playoffs are here, they come and go, you turn the page towards prospect season, everyone wants those players, right? Like this past year, everyone wanted Marv and, Neighbors and all these guys, Caleb, Jaden. The value of those picks are exponentially higher in February, March, April when the NFL draft gets here, and then people have the rookie drafts usually in May or June. That's when their value will never be higher. In season, they're pretty cheap. Right now, a 2025 first will cost you way less to acquire than it will in 3 or 4 months. And 2026 first, people are like, you know what? I'll kick the can down the road. I can get one of those back later. Yeah, I'll include that in trade. So if you have this kind of like 2-3 year window of like, I know this rebuild might take a couple of years, I think acquiring first in season, if you can, for not just this upcoming year, but like the year after is a very savvy move because their price is depleted. But understand each month that we get closer to the end of the season, the regular season, those draft pick costs go up through the roof.
And understanding that in Dynasty, when you say a first round rookie pick, like the perceived value of that is almost always higher than the actual player. And like it's a sad thing to say out loud, but it's the truth because it's it could be a boat. Like I could draft Jamar Chase. I could draft Malik Neighbors. Those guys exist, and every once in a while they pop up. But like looking at my main Dynasty league, Harrison Neighbors, that looks great so far. Rome, apparently Kyle thinks that you could get him for like a 3rd round pick. But then it's like Xavier Worthy, Keon Coleman, Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson. How are we feeling about these players? Okay-ish. And like Brian, so just saying the draft is wild. And the nice thing about a draft pick is the draft pick can't get hurt. The draft pick can't play bad. So you kind of idealize what that draft pick is going to turn into for your team. But just know, generally speaking, when we think about the picks, they're worth way more than the player, which we often talk about. Just go get a veteran, man. Just go get a player who is good right now, and because it's a bird in hand, you're probably not drafting the next Jamar Chase. Those guys don't come. They don't even come around every single year. We maybe we have 2 of them this year, from this past rookie draft, but it's just you got to get over that. You got to get over that the value of hearing 1st round pick.
Yeah, because it could be a N'Keal Harry instead of a Boat.
Yes, 101 N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, it's
devastating.
I think just the best thing to do is to put a range of outcomes when you say, hey, I'm trading so-and-so player, so Deebo Samuel, for a first. I hope that first turns into, and then name a couple different players. Would you be okay if you got that first and it turned into, Zay Flowers? You'd be like, I think that's a serviceable player, but you're not like over the top ecstatic, like this is what a first round player was. If it turned into Keon Coleman, which is too soon, but like you'd be like, okay, we'll see where this goes. But like you can kind of just add in names there. Now the hit rates get way worse. And when we say the hit rates, meaning players that just have usable fantasy weeks, like a top 24 wide receiver, they're just, when you start getting to 2nd and 3rd round, it just doesn't happen. So I think that's just putting names with these picks.
Yes, put name. I've had the 101 2 times in our Dynasty League. Najee Harris and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, a year was great. and then it's just, oh, no, these guys have actually very little value now.
Yeah. It's tough because even like we were so excited in the league to get Marv at 101. We're like,
yeah,
I still feel excited, but also At this point, you're really saying could have been neighbors. All right, next one is from Logan on X. I said, I drafted Jaden Daniels, and I've been thinking about sending a very generous offer to the Terry McLaurin manager. Should I overpay for the stack or target future Washington offensive draft picks? Don't overpay.
No, Terry is 29. Do not overpay for McLaurin.
Agreed.
It's fun to have the stack, but this might not be a stack in 2 years. So
go see if you can. Look, the senator.
I am the Senate.
Ben Sinnott, which we said very specifically, we're really excited for him. He rookie tight end for Washington. We were really excited for him, but probably not for this year. Like, he is a player who will be on a schedule of a year 2, maybe a year 3 breakout. The hype for him after the draft, though, when everybody caught up, it overcorrected. And, like, I saw him going in, like early second, mid second. It's like, dude, I'm leading this bandwagon, and that's might be a little bit too rich unless you have the luxury of, I know what this pick is. But saying the value overcorrected, maybe it has overcorrected in the other direction now of maybe the team that drafted him was like, shoot, I blew a pick, send a third. And somehow if you can turn a third into a player who was drafted at the back of the second because they're sick of this, that he has not seen a single target this year, that's the stack. That's the cheaper stack that I'd be trying to get. Or maybe are you guys into Luke McCaffrey at all? We got some head nods.
He's fine.
Yeah.
I think he's fine.
He was lucky to be a third-round pick because technically he was a third-round pick, 100th overall. But I think we'd have a different outlook if he was 101, which is, 4th round and day 3 draft capital.
I don't mind trading for Terry. I'm just saying I'm not going to overpay for him just so I can have the stack.
Makes sense. Next one real quick. This is Travis Kelce related. We got a bunch of those, but from McKay Gordon and Parlay P, is it time to trade Travis Kelce? I'm a rebuilding team. What should I get for Kelce?
I think you can ask for top dollar now.
This is the moment. If
you
you're
are
gonna
hashtag
trade.
blessed. If you had him, wanted to trade him, and didn't, and then you saw his for an entire month, we all went, is Travis Kelce completely done? And then the Rice injury, this thing is still not locked down. I don't know what's going on with Rice's injury. I think we just got another update today. Betz, did you catch all of it?
Yeah, it was an LCL tear, and they also repaired his hamstring tendon. So all things considered, it's better than it could have been. It's still going to take a few months, like his season is over this year, but for his health in 2025, the outlook is much better compared to the ACL. So good news, relatively speaking, but this is Travis Kelce's team for this year.
Yeah, I would.
And I would sell that in a trade if you're trying to get him off your roster.
Yeah. I'm saying, and for a difference-making tight end like Travis Kelce, I mean, it's wild to think of where the value was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I tried so hard to get him in a league.
You tried to get him when the value was low?
I tried to get him. Yeah.
What were you offering, though?
I offered Lad McConkey and a third.
Okay. No, that's not bad. I mean, that was a first-round pick.
Yeah, no, and I was so close to getting him. My team was so tight and needy. He's like, I'm going to wait one more week. And so it didn't really work out. But yeah, I think you're going to need to, to trade him away, I would want a first and more.
Yes, I would too.
You're not, this one person said, like, what, can I get a second? And like, no, you can get at least a first right now for Travis Kelce.
And I would be aggressively doing that right now. Because I think Travis Kelce, I think this happens the rest of the year, but it may not. Right? Just leave an option, leave the door open that it may not. But as of right now, with the last 2 games, everyone's thought process is going to be Travis Kelce is back. This is it for the rest of the year. So his values, the only way his value goes up is if you hold on to him as you're approaching your trade deadline and he's still kicking massive butt. Then maybe you can extract a little bit more, but I would probably just get it done right now.
All right. I'm going to ask one more, and I picked through them, and I just thought, hey, this one's too fun. Is DK for a mid-2025 first too much for Nico Collins? Will that even get it done?
Wait. So Metcalf and a mid-first for Nico?
I don't know if that's going to get it done.
I don't know if that'll get it done. I would do that. I'd like to have Nico on my team.
I think it's fair. Yeah.
I think if you have Nico, it's like, you know,
you're not trading him.
It's like, yeah, oh, definitely not. Like
Nico is like, he's not ranked with Chase and Jefferson, but I think he's probably in that tier up there with like Amon-Ra and those guys where it's like you just why trade them away? Why?
Agreed.
These are blue chip players who can be foundational for your team for years, and you just draft picks don't turn into these guys very much. Like we just said about the value of picks, I'd rather have an elite player who is tied to who looks to be like an up and coming elite quarterback.
His status of going from like 2 years ago, you're like, I guess he's on my dynasty roster.
Dude,
like that was kind of where we're at. There was some good underlying metrics in year 2, but it was like, oh, are we just stuck in Davis Mills world? Like that's where we're at. And then all of a sudden he's on your team and you're going, oh, I have a horse right now. And if your team was bad, like I had a team where I was really bad. I had Nico Collins, got a bunch of picks, and then all of a sudden stockpiled where he's like my third or fourth wide receiver for a while. It's like, let's roll. Like he's one of those players that I feel like, Mike, you just kind of said like, there's 30 different options of ways to go with the Texans. You're just like, I think he's just the best.
He is him.
He's very good. He burned too bright, burnt his hamstring right
too fast,
right to the ground.
Is he going to be out this week to week? They went from day to day to week within like 30 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think he plays this week. Especially against the Patriots. I think they're 7-point favorites. They probably don't need him to win.
Yeah, they probably don't.
Curse those teams.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Dynasty Podcast. Like I mentioned, next week we will be doing our rookie draft redo. Hopefully it'll be helpful for you to assess some value of some of those 2024 players. And we'll talk to you then.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.